My wife calls me up and she's saying, you better get home. The country's going to shut down. I remember going back to the seller and saying, we need more time. The whole country's going to lock down. And they were like, no. And the reality, sad fact of it is that without COVID, we probably wouldn't have been able to do this deal.
Hey guys, I'm Sharanya with the Azevedo team, and I'm here with Connor from Envoy Mortgage. And what a beautiful day to be at the Vancouver Innovation Center. And if you don't know, this is a 179-acre campus that used to be the Hewlett-Packard campus.
And today we're sitting down with one of the owners of the Vancouver Innovation Center, Mark Esrig, to talk about what's going on right here, what we can expect moving forward.
Hey guys, I'm Sharanya with the Azevedo team, and I'm here with Connor from Envoy Mortgage and Mark Esrig. And we're here at the Vancouver Innovation Center. Mark here is a co-founder of New Blueprint Partners and one of the minds behind the Vancouver Innovation Center, or the VIC. And you've been living under a rock. The VIC is a 176-acre campus, used to be the old Hewlett-Packard campus, and has the vision to be one of the Pacific Northwest great neighborhoods. Well, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure, my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
So I guess, Connor and I were just kind of want to get a feel for the place. We're trying to, also let the neighborhood know that you guys are here. And so, Connor,
Sure.
Do you want to take it away?
Yeah, so before we get into the VIC itself, let's get into a bit of your background with how you got to where you are today.
I started in real estate basically right out of college. And I started doing industrial real estate. And believe it or not, the VIC campus is industrial real estate. So started out, as you said, the HP built this, Hewlett-Packard built it in the mid-90s. But to answer your question, I started working for a broker. I was a broker. I was a terrible broker. Sorry. But I was a terrible industrial broker. But there was tough economic times in the late 80s and early 90s. It was the savings and loans crisis. A lot of banks were closing. So there was a real slowdown in the US economy. And so it was a hard business to get into at that time. But nonetheless, I got into it and I did it for 4 years. And I had the benefit of working for, probably at that point, was the premier brokerage/development firm in New Jersey. And I was fortunate enough to get a great education and work for the founder of that company. And a couple of years later, I left that company to work for a bank doing workouts, which was a result of that slowdown and the bank shutting down. And eventually I got to a point where I wanted to start my own company. And I think it was 1994 or 5, I started my own company. And I did a couple of developments in New York. And then we had the Great Recession in 2007, 2008. And I needed to get a job. And I got a job, fortunately, working at a company with a childhood friend of mine. And that childhood friend of mine is Ron Shinnick. And Ron Shinnick is also my partner now at New Blueprint Partners. And we worked at Reich Brothers for almost 9 years. And then we decided it's time to start again. It's time to start our own company again. If not now effectively, then when? So we left the safety of Reich Brothers and started New Blueprint.
So you were at Reich Brothers, and then you were at Vista Realty, and then you were at C3. Was that
so it was actually the reverse.
Okay,
so it was Vista Realty. C3 was sort of like the recovery during 2006, 2007, and then Reich Brothers in 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
And then New Blueprint.
Okay.
Literally almost 7 years ago.
Oh, that was only 7 years ago.
Yeah, New Blueprint's only 7 years old.
Okay, and so between the experiences before New Blueprint, between the Reich Brothers and C3 and Vista, was there a turning point in one of those projects where you guys were that was the project that made us realize?
It was all incremental. Everything added to the background, to our education, that ultimately allowed us to feel comfortable. And, even now, we look at this and look back, it truly was a leap, and it truly was a scary experience to try to take this all on. But Ron and I all had we had different experiences in life. Ron's a CPA. I was always in real estate. Ron worked for a real estate company, but I had spent my life in real estate. But those diverse backgrounds also work to our benefit. Ron is great on the financial side and helps us understand, who our tenants are, what their strengths are financially, what their weaknesses are. And I'm on the real estate side. I'm on the bricks and mortar side, understanding the physical conditions of the building. So it makes for a great team.
That's cool to have like a lifelong relationship like that you're able to complement each other in such a way. And then especially on such big projects like what you're working on now. Now moving to the Vic a bit, how does Vancouver, Washington pop up on your radar when you're over in New York across the country?
Yeah, it's a great question. A couple of things come to mind for the answer. I was fortunate enough when I was working at Reich to get exposure to all different parts of the United States, and even Canada. And part of the benefit of coming out here, or part of it was coming out here and doing a couple of deals. So actually, when I was at Reich Brothers, we worked on a deal in Salem. I took down a former Panasonic silicon ingot manufacturing facility. We basically took out all the equipment, we demolished it, demolished the interior, and turned it into, unfortunately or fortunately today, an Amazon last mile facility. But that's basically what we did at Reich Brothers. We took these older manufacturing facilities and found a new life for it. And that was also, again, part of the continually building blocks of an education that allowed me to take down the Vic. But that also exposed me to the Pacific Northwest and the beauty of it and the business world of it. So Ron found this deal. We were, by that time, we had started New Blueprint. We were looking for our first deal, and he found a deal literally that I had driven by multiple times, as in this campus, because when I was at Reich Brothers, I tried to do a deal right down the road on Pacific Rim, right next to the Sharp campus. And we looked at the Sharp campus, and this was basically hiding in plain sight. And I didn't really know about it until Ron pointed it out and said, hey, this is for sale. And we ended up contacting the broker, and before you knew it, I was on a plane coming out here to take a look at it. And but when you look at it from an aerial, it looks like a donut hole. It literally looks like
it. At some of the renderings too.
Yeah. I mean, some of the older photos are, you could see nothing was here. The campus was first here, and then in the late 1990s, you could see all the neighborhoods started to get built up all around it. And then there was this thing sort of in the middle. And it was, what's going on here? What's going on here? So, and we were fortunate enough to see what the potential was. And that brings us to the second part of my answer to your question. I grew up in New York. I grew up in an area called Chelsea. And Chelsea, if you don't know it now, became an extremely popular area. It's where all the art galleries moved to, and the neighborhood I grew up in, you wouldn't recognize today. It's been completely overrun. Now, you would say, I've been in real estate my whole life. Why didn't I invest there? Why didn't I do something there? And the reality of it is, I didn't see it. It was literally right in front of me, and I didn't see it. And when you think about how I was able to buy this, I think the same answer comes to play, is that we saw the potential, and people who were here locally, not to speak little of it, but we saw the potential that sometimes you can't see when you see something every day. And sometimes it takes an outsider. We were most definitely outsiders. And we just saw the vibrancy of this area and the community and the focus of Vancouver of trying to build up the east side. And we were like, let's see if we can do this.
As a realtor who sells residential, this is one of the most desired, Fisher's Landing in general, especially because it's near campus. And a lot of people who live in this area, it's not that they don't know this is here, because it's obviously a secure campus, they don't get to see the beauty of the campus, which is why this is great. I think it'd be so nice for people to say this, but you're totally right. A lot of people they only know this as the old HB campus. Yeah. And I think you guys have leaps and bounds since then of just how it even looks since then, and that's impressive. But dialing it back 7 years from today, that's 2019. Correct. So COVID.
In the heart of COVID.
In the heart of COVID.
I came out here, we went under contract, I think at the end of December of 2019. We had a limited time frame. The way commercial real estate works, as you guys know, you have like a due diligence period. And after the due diligence period expires, your deposit goes non-refundable, and then you have a period after that to close. And in our case, I believe we had 3 months. So we started to run into the beginning of February and the middle of February and the end of February. And then this COVID thing starts percolating up and getting more and more in the news. And the reality of it is that, fortunately or unfortunately, I'm from New Rochelle. I live in New Rochelle, New York now. And even though I grew up in New York City, New Rochelle is a suburb. If you look back to the history of COVID in the United States, New Rochelle was ground zero.
Okay.
Was where one of the first victims of COVID was identified.
Right.
So my wife, I was out here doing due diligence. My wife calls me up and she's saying, you better get home. The country's going to shut down. Because New Rochelle was already under lockdown before other places. I remember going back to the seller and saying, we need more time. The whole country's going to lock down. And they were like, no way. You guys have a limited period of time and that's it. And it was like, nah, well, I'm just telling you what I'm seeing. I got home, literally 2 or 3 days later, I get a call, how much time do you need? And the reality of it, the sad fact of it is that without COVID, we probably wouldn't have been able to do this deal.
Really?
Okay.
Because we got so much more time to do it. So a little bit of luck.
Yeah.
Besides the fact of like reaching above our height, we got a little bit of luck.
I mean, luck is a lot
not that COVID is luck because of so many people who've got injured and passed away from it. But in our particular case, it was beneficial.
Yeah.
In that regard, in a
That's actually really
limited,
cool that
myopic
you said that.
way to look at it, completely myopic, but it helped us do this deal because it gave us more time to figure out a way to structure it, to figure out a way to envision it, to figure out a way to put it all together.
And when you're getting this call in the middle of COVID and your wife's telling you to come home and you're like, I got to do this deal, and is someone telling you like, don't do this deal? Is there any point in that point where you're like, there's still time to turn back now?
Yeah, there's a history of every buyer, and I'm sure you face it with your home buyers, of getting like that buyer's remorse. At some point, are you getting so scared, like, should I really make this jump in this investment? And that's exactly what, I was experiencing. Personally, I was going through, and I go through it even today on every single deal we do. We go, there's always a little bit of like, is this a right deal for us? So, but yes, I mean, you just continue plodding forward. You continue plotting, go through the steps, And every step we checked the box and I'd look back and the box was good. We were good, it made sense.
So 179 acres,
Yes.
700,000 square feet.
Yep.
So when you're buying a property like this, do you have the foresight of you have all of the plans ready to go envisioned when you buy the place, or is it there's just so much opportunity and potential here, you worry about acquiring the property and then you figure out what to do with it after the fact?
All of the above. You try to get through creating the due diligence, creating the plans. The site was zoned completely industrial. And if you look around it to the north and to the west of us, we have single family residential right next door. So contextually, it didn't make sense to me coming from New York or wherever. It just didn't make sense contextually to have industrial buildings right next door to single family homes. It's just not a good mix. So we knew we had to create some sort of buffer, and that would either be having landscape or having berms or something planned out, and not having a building right next to a residential home. And we knew that the growth of residential, the growth of the population was just basically exploding here, that it would make sense to do residential, some form of residential. So we went through a number of iterations of, how much is the land worth? What's it worth for single family homes? What's it worth for multifamily homes? What's it worth for industrial? What's it worth for, at that time, office was still a viable option in terms of building speculatively. So as we went through all those steps, at the same point, we have 700,000 square feet under roof. So did it make sense at that point just to buy the campus and not worry about the land and just focus on the buildings? And would the buildings be worth what we were paying for it? And ultimately, at the end of the day, it was worth it for us just to focus on the buildings and the potential for the buildings, and the land would just come along with it. And eventually we'll get to the land, and eventually we'll be able to add value having the land. It'll be accretive to the entire transaction, which is where we are today.
I was like, and you touch on the point of like having office buildings during a time of COVID and then still believing in that vision when everyone just went deeper into that lockdown of not wanting to be in the office.
Exactly. And it was the same thing here. I mean, if you could have easily been the idea to convert this to office, even though it really doesn't make any sense. I mean, we have these phenomenal buildings that HP in its prime invested in and built, and the quality of it is still seen today, as shown by the building we're in. We have high ceilings, we have great column spacing, we have a lot of loading facilities, and those are all things we look for on the industrial side. It's got power, it's got distribution, it's got redundancy on electrical distribution. So those are all things when we evaluate industrial deals that we look for.
Should I talk about that? I'm just pausing.
I have a question. So when you bought the property, was there no tenants?
It was there were a couple of tenants, legacy tenants so we purchased the property from a company called SE or SEH, which is actually a very large manufacturer here, just west of us. And originally their plans were to use this campus and for, I believe it was the manufacturer of solar panels. But at the time that they acquired it, which was approximately, I think, 2006, 2007, the solar market died because of the large influx of solar panels being manufactured from China and coming here. So they basically sort of just kept this in stasis. They weren't a real estate company. They purchased it from HP, but SE or SEH is not a real estate company. But they did do some leasing, and some of those tenants we inherited, and some of them are here today. So when we purchased it, it was about slightly less than 40% leased. And now we're up to about 85% leased. And that last 15% is always the hardest. You got the low-hanging fruit, you get done quickly, and now we're spending a decent amount of money to get that last 15% leased, which is fine, which is okay with what we did.
So you rebranded it from the Vancouver Tech Center to the Vancouver Innovation Center. And why was that important to you?
A couple of reasons. First, we wanted to break the chain. As part of branding, we wanted to brand something new. The Vancouver Tech Center, to me, sounded too closely to the Columbia Tech Center, which is right up the street. So I didn't want that confusion. The other thing is that we really wanted to create a dynamic innovation hub that can have effectively its own ecosystem for growth within here, because we knew we had to bring in smaller tenants. We knew we had to bring in tenants. We weren't as classy, and we didn't have as nice buildings as Columbia Tech Center just north of us. So it's basically second generation space. So slightly cheaper space. So who's coming into slightly cheaper space are newer companies that are just building themselves, starting out. So hence the innovation.
Now you talk about having this being a 20-minute neighborhood or 20-minute campus. I mean, you look at the renderings of what it's going to be turning into, and it looks like one of those forward-looking, like almost Apple campuses. And especially around here, you don't see anything like this around here.
That picture is really cool over there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So walk us through like the overall vision. We see dirt being moved on the west side of the complex right now.
Yeah. So we are starting vertical construction on 261 apartments. Okay. And we actually officially started that on Monday of this week. So that's very exciting. Monday. Wow. Okay. Yeah, we were doing some earth moving and grading, last fall, and then we stopped for the winter, and now we just closed on our major construction loan, so now we're starting on the vertical construction. So that's very exciting. But to get back to your question in the 20-minute neighborhood, so it became important to us with having such a large concentration of buildings, of trying to figure out, and so much land around us, and we knew we had to do a mix of residential, of trying to get that to all blend together and create a neighborhood. And one of the ways you create a neighborhood, and trust me, I didn't know this 7, 8 years ago. I went through an education process for the past couple of years, and we studied this. We literally studied this. We hired the best-in-class planners. We hired a Google subsidiary company called Sidewalk Labs that specialized in how to think about neighborhoods and how neighborhoods and communities get developed. And we realized we had to create a certain mass, a certain number of apartments. And we didn't really want single-family homes, because single-family homes, chew up a lot of land.
We do, yeah.
Chew up a lot of land. And especially in where Vancouver is today, land is a very limited resource. So we wanted to add density. And in order to densify, to create that effective densification, you had to figure out to get away from cars. You had to figure out a way to get away from surface parking. And one of the ways to do that is you try to create that so-called 20-minute neighborhood, live, work, play, all within 20-minute walk of each other. So we have the work, the core buildings of HP. We have another 800,000 square feet in plans that we could possibly build down the road that we want to build. And then we got approval to build 1,800 apartments. And then depending on how the traffic is, and if we could get people out of their cars and create people to effectively walk a neighborhood, maybe there's a possibility we can build even more housing than the 1,800, if in fact we can show that we're not generating the traffic we originally anticipated we would have to generate. So it's a complicated algorithm, in effect, way beyond my pay scale, but that is what ultimately a 20-minute neighborhood is, really 20 minutes of walking between shopping, between living, between playing, and obviously between working. And the other thing about our campus is we don't have any big box retail here. And we did that because one of our streets that we front is 192nd Street. And 192nd is a major shopping corridor. We already have 2 large supermarkets within walking distance here. So we didn't need to add a 3rd supermarket here. So that actually saved us and allowed us to make more efficient and effective use, hopefully, of planning our land and using our land.
So with like 5,000 to 6,000 jobs, almost 1,200 housing park, a forest, a park, or school,
Yeah,
like up to 1,800. Like, I guess, how do you phase something like this so that it doesn't feel like everyone's being affected by it? Because there are people who are still working here.
Yeah. It's something that comes front and center with us in terms of making sure, first of all, there's making sure that we're not disturbing everyone, but there's the aspect of there's only so many dollars you can invest at any one time.
Right.
So we had to pick one spot to start that first phase. And depending on how that phase goes, we'll then have the next phase. And depending on how that phase goes. And what ends up happening before, and I sort of said this in terms of being creative, that first phase is hopefully then accretive to whatever we design and build in that second phase, because now we have that first phase of 260 apartments. We've started to create the energy in the community in close proximity to these VIC buildings. So hopefully the next phase we could get a little bit more density, again, having more components of the community and what builds community in terms of necessity retail, in terms of some light retail. So those are all like baby steps, but hopefully at the end we're left with an experiment that'll be
Yeah.
performing greatly.
And just a sidebar to that, like being from New York and having lived around skyscrapers, I mean, I know not all of New York is like that, but it's bustle and it's hustle. Is that part of what's also how you like, like creating a community within itself kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, actually, that's a interesting question because New York is so big, and it's so dense. It's sort of hard to find that community in New
Right.
York
Okay.
because of that. I grew up in a 21-story apartment building.
I grew up in Singapore.
Yeah, I mean, there you go.
We have
There you
20-minute
go.
neighborhoods.
Yeah.
It's actually a lot of the lifestyle choices people make.
Yeah.
There, so I was just curious. Yeah.
Yeah. I've never had the luxury or the benefit, I should say, of going to Singapore, but it'd be interesting now that you mention it. It's hard to create. It's hard to create that. One thing that we got from that Sidewalk Labs education was to say, we needed to have a minimum number of apartments for this community to be effectively create itself. So 1,800 was a good medium number, safe enough in case we had to go a little lower. But at the end of the day, it's very difficult to build. It's very difficult to figure out how to build because you also have to accommodate for parking. At the end of the day, parking is the driver. You have to have enough parking to support these buildings. People have to have enough parking for the apartment buildings. And parking is such an inefficient use of land, but the economics are not here yet to support structured parking. So and that's what I mean by being accretive. So you try to build that first neighborhood and you hope that it adds value to the second future neighborhood, and the value and the returns that you can get on that second neighborhood maybe start supporting structured parking.
Right. And that being like parking upwards or parking downwards?
Either one.
Okay. Well, I was just going to say, because we build downwards in Singapore, like we go up to 6 basements.
Really?
Malls as well. Malls
Yeah.
go 6 floors below because everything residential goes 6 floors.
So that's a great example of taking advantage of the limited amount of
we're so small.
space.
Yeah.
Here, what I learned today in talking to our construction person, it costs approximately $4,000 to build a surface parking space. It costs $25,000 to build a structured like a structured parking lot above ground to build a space. So you can just see the difference when you start talking about hundreds of parking spaces, 261 apartments. You have to build at least 400 spaces, at least.
Wow.
So just think about that difference.
Math is mathing.
Yeah, the math is just blows my mind.
Yeah.
Where are your projects at in
That's
total?
a great question.
Yeah.
So we buy industrial buildings like the Vic, but we've purchased a lot of single tenant and multi-tenant buildings, not in a campus, although I'd love to buy another campus. But most of industrial buildings are what people expect to see, one building on one property. We have a number of properties in Wisconsin. We have a property, we just closed on 2 properties in Missouri and St. Louis. We have properties in Indiana, in Illinois. We're looking at properties in Ohio right now. We hope to go to contract on a property in Ohio. I just signed a term sheet on today. What else? We love the Midwest, in addition to the Pacific Northwest, but we love that whole upper tier of the United States. And we love it for a variety of reasons. A lot being actually, if you don't mind, I'll give you my my soapbox, my 30-second investor outline. We like the upper part of the United States basically because of climate change. And we're not big climate change people, but we are believers that the climate is affecting business and that it will affect manufacturing. And we can just see what's happening in Arizona and the growth of Arizona, but the need for air conditioning when you have triple-digit weather for triple-digit days, and the impact that could possibly have on manufacturing. So we don't have that, thankfully, in the upper tier of the United States. We have abundant power for the most part. We have abundant water. We have older infrastructure. but we buy older buildings. So we buy existing buildings that we can't replicate with today's dollars. That would be a lot more expensive if we had to replicate it today. We're buying it below replacement cost, but these are manufacturing buildings that have cranes, that have high ceilings, that have electrical infrastructure systems throughout. So that's really New Blueprint Partners. That's what New Blueprint Partners really specializes in, those type of acquisitions. I wish I owned something though in
Maybe,
Vermont.
maybe someday.
It's closer to my house.
Yeah,
That's
there
the
you
I was
thing.
just gonna say, like, yeah, that would be a lot closer for you. Well, so and I hope this is correct, but it says you invested, well, it says over here like about $12 million in property improvements. Is that correct?
Yeah, probably more than that by now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you really leaned into sustainability with the VIC.
Yeah.
And was that important from the beginning? Like, energy control upgrade, efficiency upgrades.
Yeah, I think it's important no matter what. We had the benefit of having the support of the local utility, Clark PUD, the Energy Trust of Oregon, which also covers, they call it Oregon, but it really covers Clark County too. But yes, sustainability is very important to us. And it's important for a variety of reasons. First of all, energy actually is a limited resource for the most part, the way we supply it today. And it was important for us to reduce our footprint, especially when we had the opportunity to, because we knew with the building systems HP had installed, they were basically beyond their end of life. So we knew we had to replace chillers. We knew we had to install a new building management system. We knew we had to replace all the lighting with LEDs. So those are all things we knew we had to do. And with those organizations I just mentioned, they provided incentives to help us do it. But we were also focused on getting it done because we also think it's good marketing. We think it's good to be able to tell our tenants, hey, we've installed the latest and greatest in terms of energy management system, because at the end of the day, the tenants are paying for this. Yeah. The tenants are paying for this in terms of their operating expenses. So by law, even though it's a little bit more expensive for us to install and that we don't get reimbursed on, the long-term savings to our tenants help make the buildings more attractive to tenants, because now we can operate at a cheaper cost, and they can operate at a cheaper cost. So there is a bit of smarts in doing that we focused on doing that. And that's also, we renovated this building because we wanted a place, but again, talk about building community, talk about placemaking. We wanted a place for our tenants. Yeah. We knew all these buildings were connected. We knew we had to think differently. Most individual industrial buildings are not connected to another building, but we had the opportunity to figure out how to do something. And the reality of it is we couldn't do anything else with this space. Right. So it was either leave it in its present form and its aged condition, or think about something that you can do here that can be a benefit to our tenants and be a benefit to bringing in new tenants.
Plus, especially in the Northwest, they do love energy efficient. They like knowing that it's being built with that in mind. So it's good PR as well. So.
Yeah, I mean, just all the lighting that we did, and a lot of it is just behind the scenes that tenants don't even see. Right. I mean, they don't see the chillers, they don't see the upgrade to cooling towers, of motors. I mean, the list goes on and on, the stuff, and we're still doing stuff today. I mean, we just spent, the last 2 months replacing skylights. Right. And the skylights had to be replaced because they were 40 years old and they started to get holes in it, but we could have also covered them up. Right. So, and now we have natural light coming into the spaces, and every single comment I've heard from a tenant who's below all those new skylights is they can't believe it, they love it. So that also is part of the attraction. So yes, it's smart to be this way in terms of trying to think about sustainability, but at the end of the day, we also want to think about how to make this property more attractive to tenants, more attractive to get me to that 100% from that 85% of occupancy.
We talk about who your ideal client is. With your space that you currently have and then moving forward, is there an ideal client that you're looking for to fill the existing space, or just anyone that's willing to pay the bill?
Well, no. I mean, we have tenants we've turned down. Yeah. for a variety of reasons. We had one tenant that would have been a complete nightmare possibly had they come here. But at the end of the day, no, I don't want to say we're curating some tenants. I mean, in reality, we have space, not that is industrial space. Industrial space doesn't necessarily work for every single tenant. So in some respects, that's the natural selector. It's really not us who's selecting the tenants. It's really the space that is selecting the tenants. Yeah.
So you've hosted a lot of events here. I've been to a couple of them.
Yeah.
Some of them being a lot of them being local events, like the Chamber of Commerce. People see this space also as another place
The Boys and Girls Club.
The Boys and Girls Club, yeah, and they're always super fun. Foodie does amazing food
Yeah.
for them too. By the way, if you don't know, Foodie is their catering kitchen, but they also are an on-site restaurant for the people who work here. Because again, it's a secure building, so you can't just walk in, but you can DoorDash it. Having all those programs in here, is there something do you guys, similar with your tenants, is there any way you are curating what you allow to happen in here too? It is still a secure campus, but you allow programming. So.
We love programming. We love because it's activation.
Okay.
So having not-for-profits hold events here, that's all part of being part of the larger community. We have the homeowners associations, nearby homeowners associations, who do some of their meetings here. Again, it's part of the activation. It's part of being a good neighbor. We're a big neighbor. And sometimes, people could think we're tone deaf. We want to make sure we're not considered tone deaf, that we're considered part of the community, because at the end of the day, when those walls do come down from the closed HP campus and the residential's built, it'll be beneficial at the end of the day to our retail that comes here, to our renting out apartments, the future tenants who come here. So it's all with that in mind and trying to create community. And again, we have great space. We love to rent it out to organizations. We love to rent it out for family events, for gatherings, weddings, other things. And we love to have not-for-profits. We especially love having, we do give space away to the not-for-profits that are community-based
awesome.
here.
That's good to know, by the way, not-for-profits watching this. But I guess kind of like an extension to that, what has you've had so many events here, is there one that you kind of that was really fun just to lighten it up?
I love the tenant events. We have events, it's closed obviously for the tenants, but I love the tenant events because at the end of the day, we're in the real estate business, and I want to see that our tenant, those are our customers.
Right.
And I want to see that my customers, I get feedback.
Is that the main way of getting feedback?
Yeah, we have email, we reach out to them, we have a tenant engagement software that they can reach out to us. But yeah, the one-on-one yesterday, I was talking to one of our tenants, and we were talking about Foodie and they were telling me how much they love the catering and just having them on site, and it makes it easy for them when we have common area conference rooms that our tenants can avail themselves to in case they have their conference room in their particular space is not large enough. So the tenants who use that can also get catering within their space, but they were telling me how easy it was just to have Foodie here. They go online, they order it, the food arrives that morning, or if it's a morning meeting or whatever, it's just easy for them to set up. And that's, again, it's part of that sort of that ecosystem.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's my favorite part.
Yeah.
It's just talking to the tenants.
Seeing the ecosystem exist as an
correct.
ecosystem. Yeah.
Correct.
Working towards kind of wrapping up the conversation a bit, my final question, it's more business focused. If you could give a piece of advice to an entrepreneur or a small business owner that's looking to grow what they're doing, from all of your experience that you have, I know it's a tough question, but what's a piece of advice that you would give to someone that's looking to do something that what you did?
I could give a couple of things. First of all, perseverance. Whenever you have your own business, whether it's large or you're working with a group of people, the roadblocks, the bumps in the road, those are always the easiest to hang you up. Those are the easiest to slow you down. And in some cases, you just have to continue moving forward, even if it's like plotting one step at a time, just the perseverance and overcoming those obstacles. That's one of the big things about, especially for us and starting our business and growing our business over the past couple of years. We've certainly hit many roadblocks, many obstacles, and being able to pivot to, being able to figure out opportunities in terms of when something does hit you, figuring out what the plan B is. And then the other thing is transparency and efficacy. Being open and transparent with your partners and your investors and your stakeholders, whether it's the neighbors next door or my investors. As a business person, those are to me some of the two most important pieces of advice I would give to someone starting out or even in the middle of it. So.
Great. Totally do these rapid fires because I'd love.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm ready.
You've been here so many times. I think at one point you were here every other week.
It probably felt like that.
Well, I felt like it because I felt like I saw you.
So
Well, Braden was always like, "Oh, but I think Mark's in town this week, or Ron's in town this week." But favorite spot to eat when you're in town? I have to hit it once.
I have a new favorite. There's a Thai place right near Costco. For the life of
the Costco in Camas?
No, the Costco right up there on 92nd Street.
Okay.
There's that little sort of obscure shopping center right next to it.
Okay.
There's a Thai place in there that is really, in my mind, really authentic.
Okay.
So that's one of my. I got to hit that place. I got to hit that place at least once.
Thai food in New York?
Oh, there's great Thai food in New York, but you know what? There's a Thai community there, but you got to go to it. It's not like 5 minutes from me. It's like 30 minutes from me.
Right.
Here, this is like 5 minutes.
Okay.
Follow up favorite dish.
Favorite dish is probably a green curry. A green curry dish. It's a little spicy.
I gotta make you a green curry. Do you know how many times I've offered? One thing about the Vic that most people don't know, that either the tenants should know, or you just want people to know, that it's kind of
Use the gym, man. Every time I go to the gym, it's empty.
Do you know the square footage of that?
The square footage of the gym?
Yeah.
the gym is awesome.
The gym is probably, I think, about 2,000 square feet, and it's got showers. We got
Braden and I use
showers.
it on Wednesdays, by the way.
Okay, all right. I love that. I love that.
Gym tenants.
I love that.
And there's also classes too, right?
There's classes.
Yeah.
Tuesdays and Thursdays, we have yoga in the evening, and I think Mondays, and I think actually also Tuesdays and Thursdays during the day, we have a fitness instructor.
Like a personal trainer.
A personal trainer.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I don't know if everybody in our building knows about it because it doesn't seem like it's getting used that much. But we love it. We love it. We love it.
It's great. You got machines in there that most places don't, like that rope thing.
Yeah, the rope thing is unbelievable. Isn't that rope thing great?
It's exhausting.
I was just using
It's
it.
so tiring.
Well, what number do you put it on?
The easiest. Okay, fun one. I love asking people this. If you weren't in real estate, what would you be doing?
What would I be? I was actually a biology major in college. I'd probably, I don't want to say I'd be a scientist, but I'd probably be like some sort of,
Like research?
yeah, some sort of, maybe like urban planning, biological, I don't know, something other than science. I don't know.
And this one just popped up because I thought it was fun. But you've been working with your best friend for how long is it? 7 years? But
7 years. I've known
known
since we've known each other. I think since we were 17.
17. Like you've worked with your friend for so long. Any advice for people going to work with want to go to business with their friends?
No filter.
There we go.
No
Okay,
filter.
transparency. Okay.
Transparency. Yeah, I mean, we're lucky. We're lucky in that we also have complementary skill sets. So that's the other thing. So we're not doing the exact same thing. He's got his strengths, I have mine. We both respect each other's skill sets, and it's worked out well because we divide and conquer.
Right.
So, but you know, we have our fights.
I've always
It's like
thought
a
that the
marriage.
dynamic is so fun to watch. Like
Yeah.
it's like you see you guys as serious people, and then when they get together, it's like you see.
Well, I'm like the straight man, and Ronnie's like the joker. So let's be realistic. So I have to be the straight man. He's got to be the joker.
Play a role.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so basically, I guess to wrap this up, for anyone listening, if people want to look into leasing or anything like that, what should they do?
They should contact you.
They should contact me. I mean,
You're a broker.
for sure. I just meant like, is there a web? Should they look on the website?
Yeah,
Should they
the
call directly?
vicwa.com.
VicWA.com.
The vicwa.com. There you go.
Well, this has been awesome. Thank you.
Thank
for
you
giving us
very
your
much.
time.
This has been a lot of fun.
And honestly, to us, it's interesting because our jobs are directly like related to people finding Vancouver interesting.
Yeah.
Like we are seeing so much relocation, not just from Portland, but like nationally, California, and I think a lot of people still think I live in Portland, Oregon, but Vancouver, Washington is its own place, and we love that other people believe in it.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many people I've educated about Vancouver, Washington, especially from the East Coast.
Yeah.
Because obviously every time I say Vancouver,
Canada?
they're the Canada. I'm like, this is actually the first Vancouver. All right, let's get it right.
Original.
This is the original, the OG.
Awesome.
So, but yes, it's a great area, and especially, yes, it's part of the Portland ecosystem, and it's part of that Portland MSA. So it really, you get the benefit of being in Portland, being near Portland, but not having to be in Portland.
And not taxes.
Yeah.
Well, unless you're a millionaire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now.
Yeah. Good thing we're not.
But I don't have to worry about it.
Let's hope we have to worry about it.
Yes, hope we have to work. Well, thank you
Yeah.
so
Exactly.
much.
Thank you very
Awesome.
much.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. Appreciate
My
it.
pleasure. Let's go look at the gym.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Cool.